Hi there, and welcome to Gray Muzzle Geekery for the week of May 11th, 2020, episode 51. I'm Dusty Red, and with me as always,
I'm Dusty White.
And let's get right into this week's news.
News.
6 weeks into this work from home nightmare, your living space might not be the best for your coworkers or clients to see in the background of your next Zoom or Skype conference meeting. Luckily, Studio Ghibli has released 12 free backgrounds to replace your backdrop with an image of your choosing. Featuring stills from the studio's most famous films, adorable scenes from Kiki's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, and of course, Princess Mononoke. Most backgrounds are at 1920 by 1080, but you are able to adjust the size accordingly to your application. Got any Studio Ghibli favorites, Red?
I mean, Princess Mononoke is still probably the favorite, but I don't know. Ham.
Ponyo.
Ponyo's a good one too, though. So, man, there's a lot of good. Now they're like going through. It's hard to pick a favorite because every one tells a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
Or if not completely different, it has a very modern day Aesop's Fable, modern day folklore, tall tales. You know, Babe and the Big Blue Ox and all that stuff. Or Babe is the Big Blue Ox. Paul Bunyan and the Big Blue Ox. All those are big, tall American tales and big folklores and stuff. And Studio Ghibli has that vibe of these are folklores or stories of that, like...
Stories passed down through generations of...
And it may just all be stories just made up now.
Right.
But it has the feel, has the charm of these are all just made up and told down from generations and whatnot. So yeah, I'm having backgrounds be really fun. Obviously, it's going into, month 2 for some people.
Right.
3, I think, for us, really. I mean, we kind of been quarantined together since mid-March.
Yeah.
So we're in mid-May now, or early May. Like, it's
clicking up there.
Time to change the background a little bit. I'm going to start painting my walls in my apartment just for a different change of scenery this day, so...
I was gonna say mine being either Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle. Calcifer is a personal favorite, but I've always liked the little soot sprites as well. So I don't know which one I would choose. Like, I looked at some of them. They've got the bread background from Kiki's, so it looks like you're in a bakery. They've got like the forest overgrown from Totoro, Spirited Away. There's some really unique ones. Even the bad, like, creepy monster from Princess Mononoke.
I can see some of the cosplayers taking advantage of that too.
Oh,
now
that's
you got
true.
free backgrounds to kind of futz with and play with, so
that's true.
Work out. So, have you been seeing or hearing ghosts? And no, I don't mean the ghosts of Ray Horn of Siegfried and Roy, or of Little Richard, but rather the sneaky release of Ghosts 5 and 6 by 9 Inch Nails, who released a pair of records back in March of 2020. Music, whether listening to it, thinking about it, or creating it, has always been the thing that helped us get through anything, good or bad. Reads a post on the band's website from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. With that in mind, we decided to burn the midnight oil and complete these 2 ghost records as a means of staying somewhat sane. Both albums are available as free downloads on the band website, as well as on YouTube, and it has already hit the wider streaming services. So, music, or was it Google Play, Spotify, iTunes, all your fun stuff. As the news seemed to turn more and more grim by the hour, we found ourselves facilitating wildly between feeling like there may be hope and utter despair. Often changing minute to minute, the band writes. Although each of us define ourselves as antisocial types who prefer being on our own, the situation has really made us appreciate the power and need for connection. So I'm come and go with 9 Inch Nails. Like, okay. I've liked them, and then they got 2 like
Are you a 9-inch nail hipster?
No, I wasn't a Nine Inch Nail hipster at all. I got in late, in fact. I missed Pretty Hate Machine and went right into Downward Spiral and Fragile. But it was still a case of they stayed that vein and my music taste didn't. I didn't have the beaded industrial chains, the giant
Jinko jeans,
the Jinko jeans and stuff. I didn't fall that way. So it's still good music though, and especially getting older and like trying to appreciate different types of music that had a profound impact on the 90s and 2000s. You can't deny the power that Trent Reznor had, basically making industrial music and music that's kind of, you want to go, Eminem did it with rap, where rap and hip-hop, where it opened up to a wider audience. That's what Nine Inch Nails did. It opened up a wider audience to the industrial scene and made him appreciate it or like it and allowed him to do different things. So,
and I feel like he's always been a artist's artist. Like, he was mainstream enough for his fans, but almost more artists enjoyed his artistness.
Well, he's also not only a composer and a writer, songwriter, musician, everything else. He's also a producer. He's also,
but more of that. He was covered a lot. I mean, you've got
not covered as much as you think.
Well, how many?
You got the one major cover you're trying to touch.
Well,
on.
there was Hurt, and then there was also I want things about animals. And
Closer is what you're looking
yes,
for.
I'm sorry, I don't know the name. But those kind of things that other artists, even further on, like Marilyn Manson and other artists,
well, they came up together for sure.
Did covers of it and open it up to that audience, that artist's audiences. A lot of alliteration happening today. But yeah, I would say that he is a fan amongst other music people.
Well, he is there are other people that look up to him for sure. He is multi-talented. He's got a keen ear for things. Again, he's a producer. He's, as much as he is in front of the microphone or in front of the cameras, he's also very much behind the scenes. He's very much capable of doing a number of things. What was the Social Network? The movie Social Network that was about Facebook and Zuckerberg and stuff. He did the score for all that. Like, so that's his impact on being able to play with moods with music. So he's a very, very knowledgeable guy. It really puts me on the mentality of Tool's lead singer, James Maynard Keenan, who's another guy who is, he's a great voice, but he's so smart outside of just, hey, I can sing, I got a good voice, I got a band. Entrepreneur, businessman, behind the scenes, studio work, everything else. There's such a bigger picture. He goes beyond, I'm a musician. He is an artist. There's a much greater
creative
scope.
Mindset.
He is a full-blown creative person. So, if you want to go find it, the Nine Inch Nails have their Ghosts 5 and 6 album floating around on Ghost on on their website or YouTube or wherever else you get your music from.
Titled Marge in Chains, Season 4, originally released September 24th of 1992, that's right, 1992, continues The Simpsons' streak of being pop culture's Nostradamus. This episode goes on to foreshadow the newest 2020 problems with the pandemic and murder hornets. It features a sick Asian worker sneezing in a shipment of juicers being sent to Springfield, which kicks off an Osaka flu outbreak. As the residents panic, they knock over a truck suspected to have the cure, but instead demolishes a crate marked Killer Bees, which of course swarms. A few other ones that they have predicted is Donald Trump's presidency, Lady Gaga playing the Super Bowl, smartwatches, Siegfried and Roy tiger attack, and of course Disney buying Fox. All things being predicted in The Simpsons, very, very long-standing show. Thoughts?
I mean, you're going to go rule of average or law of
Overall
averages. How many predictions they made that have not come true? And they've been around for 30 plus years.
Right.
So they're bound to get some things right. As much as I want to poo-poo it, it's actually funny because if anything, it emphasizes the point of fact is stranger than fiction, and you can't make this stuff up.
Right.
You know these writers are sitting in there being like, hey, I got a crazy one. I got a really crazy, stupid idea. What's up? Donald Trump becomes president.
And
they're laughing about it and how, like, okay, whatever, and it happens. Because they're trying to create
I was going to say,
fantastical.
Even the Donald Trump one is literally just, it's not gone into, it's not explained, it's not like, oh, here's the episode.
He's just president.
He just gets referenced as being the economy that Lisa has to deal with after he was president. So just little things like that. And I've seen the memes and everything, even after Lady Gaga did the Super Bowl. She came careening into the Super Bowl on a contraption, and that's what they did for her performance.
Now that could be they saw that and went, hey, we should take off of Simpsons and just fulfill that prophecy. Right.
So yeah, I would definitely go along with the law of averages kind of theory too. Not to be, put on my sheet metal sombrero.
I get the sheet metal sombrero. You need your own. You're Portuguese, and you get a something kill. I can't think of it. Tinfoil top hat. I don't know.
There you go. But again, I enjoy seeing these, even again that it's a 30 plus year cartoon or TV show. It's going to have those references and those pop culture niches that it happens to make fun of that may eventually, who knows, another 30 years from now have so much more be that they predicted. Although I will say Disney buying Fox, who saw that coming? Come on.
But again, Disney buys everything. So it's not hard to see.
Fair.
Ultimately, you're going down to the concept of a couple companies are going to own everything. That's
Monopoly.
That's all. The Simpsons made fun of was at some point a mega conglomerate is going to buy a bunch of stuff. Ha ha! Wouldn't it be funny if we got owned by Disney? Again, couple guys drinking scotch and making jokes, and it comes true. So yeah, it's fact could be often stranger than fiction, and again, you see things that happen of did that actually happen? Like, can you actually make this nonsense up? Would anybody predict
murder hornets?
Murder hornets. So be it. So the Pappy Van Winkle range is perhaps the most sought after American whiskey range around today. Made at the Buffalo Trace Distillery, the Fame range drops every year, always featuring very reasonable suggested retail prices. However, the bottles are bought up by seasoned bourbon fans with close ties to liquor stores and shops, and soon after, they can be found online or at secondary markets, selling for thousands of dollars above the suggested retail price. The Whiskey Exchange has launched a ballot featuring a full range of Pappy Van Winkle bourbon bottles. It will run from May 7th to May 10th, 2020. According to the retailer, each participant must complete the checkout process, but will only be charged if their entry was successful. In the spirit of fairness, bourbon fans may apply for multiple bottles but can only win one. If an applicant wins one entry, their others will be automatically canceled. This is meant to distribute the small number of bottles to as many drinkers as possible. Beyond the great method of distributing the bottles, the Whiskey Exchange is releasing each bottles at surprisingly reasonable prices, bearing in mind import fees and the bottles that have been shipped from the United States to the United Kingdom back to the United States.
Got it.
So that's you're gonna get your price there. We were looking at the $70 bottle Pappy Van Winkle 10-year.
10-year.
But getting it to England and then back would probably run us about $112, I think it said. That said, I put my bid in, so we'll see what happens. It's kind of once in a lifetime thing. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they're going to go about doing this. Obviously, there's a little bit of markup on the Whiskey Exchange's behalf to get their own funds. But at the same time, some of these drinks, some of these bottles go. The 200, was it the one for $300? The 30-year-old or the 26-year-old? It sells for $1,000+.
Right.
So if you want to be that person to snatch this up and then turn around and sell it, so be it. But you may want to hang on to it
and
yourself.
You almost, and I've know of this because I've kind of, I've obviously seen some of the things about Pappy and being a whiskey fan that I am. You could almost buy one of those bottles, have your local whiskey fans be like, you want a shot of it, give me $20, and almost make your money back. I know there's bars that do that. I know of alcohol shops or liquor shops, liquor stores.
Shot, you need to drink something. Wet your whistle.
Liquor stores also doing that for charity to raise money for their local charities in their
We're talking
area.
about one specific place.
Right, but I have seen it other bars that they end up with a bottle of Pappy's and they choose to do something good
something
with
for
it
the neighborhood.
to better
this
the
bottle will
community.
go to charity. Yeah, this bottle will go to charity. How's it go to charity? Everybody give me $20 for an ounce pour. Taste it. Everybody has a shared experience, which is what whiskey is kind of supposed to be. Or at least some of the bottles that are more than just, I don't want to poo-poo on it, but more than just Jameson or more than just these mass-distributed, easily found spirits. You go stuff that's a little bit more unique, and then it becomes a shared experience of, hey, what am I tasting and whatnot. So we'll get into some of these shared experiences, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that concludes this week's news.
News.
And so I guess, my dear Dusty White, if we're going to go into alcoholic experiences, we're going to go down a rabbit hole?
Very deep rabbit hole, actually.
Here we go down the rabbit hole.
Down the rabbit hole.
So what have you found, my dear?
So, being cooped up and being pandemicked.
You're not
Pandemicked.
You are
quarantined.
You are protecting others by keeping a social distance. You're staying at home.
I happen to fall down a rabbit hole. Wright and I are cocktail connoisseurs. We like cocktails. We like going places. We like going to bars. We like shared experiences. And to kind of give you a little bit of background, we also like watching, like we've talked about Unis Honest. We've talked about a couple of other shows or people that we like watching on YouTube.
We become YouTube fanatics a little bit more than usual because we have time to sit and eat, and we're not going out as much as we used to.
Right.
So, or at all, really. And so we're able to sit and kind of peruse. And again, we go back to my habit of I don't like watching things for more than half hour.
You have a very, very short attention span. So that leads me to go to YouTube and kind of find things that are pop culture related that interest both of us.
In 20-minute bites.
In very, very small bites, which YouTube is obviously great for. So what led me from, I would say, something like binging with Babish, or something along those lines, which is more cooking related, we ended up finding another YouTube that we do watch is How to Drink, Well, how to drink led me to another, because obviously YouTube does that algorithm thing and they do all the, you should like this too. Well, I found a string of YouTube videos that are made by the Whiskey Tribe. And to give you some background on that is the Whiskey Tribe, or the Whiskey Vault, is Daniel Whittington and Rex Williams are two guys faithfully building their YouTube channel, The Whiskey Vault, now officially YouTube's largest whiskey channel with over 109,000 subscribers, and probably more than that since this was written. And the Whiskey Tribe over the last 3.5 years. Daniel Whittington being originally from the Austin, Texas area, known for blues country music. He is a...
It's Austin, Texas.
He's Austin, yeah, exactly. Austin, Texas, and he's a music... He's local musician. And then Rex Williams being kind of a marketing person.
He's a big marketing guy, for sure.
So they kind of collaborated, and they have built this whiskey world. I don't know how else, and we'll obviously get into it because we're talking about it. And obviously you can see we being bourbon lovers and whiskey lovers. So we were talking about it last night with actually your family. Describe what whiskey is versus bourbon versus scotch, that kind of thing.
Well, the simplest way to do it is, your whiskeys are your spirits that are aged in some sort of barrel. Mm-hmm. PBR is a good example of, and I say this because PBR is a good example of the fact that they recently released a whiskey in a little bottle by PBR.
Looks a lot like that one.
Sort of like this.
Yep.
But it's got the PBR logo on there, and it is PBR whiskey. But
and for those that don't know what PBR is, it's
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
There
it's
you
a
go.
Midwest garbage beer. I mean, it's not garbage beer. It won an award. It's cheap beer.
Yeah.
You get a 30 rack for like $12 or something. But they made a whiskey, which is this white moonshine nonsense for the most part. However, there's a stipulation in I forgot it's not the FDA, but it's with the FDA, but
right.
It's anything that would call anything a liquor or whatnot.
It's basically so that you don't false advertise what
Correct.
It actually is.
The stipulation to be a whiskey is it needs to be aged in some sort of barrel. Obviously, bourbons need to bourbons need to be aged in new oak barrels. So there's a whole charring process where they set fire to the inside of the barrel. There's levels of it. I think it's 1 through 6.
Right.
And based on the char level of the barrel is the different flavor profiles you'll get with your whiskey. Again, whiskey is, when it comes out, it's white lightning, moonshine, whatever you want to call it. It's clear, water-based. It looks like water, and it's crazy high proofage and such. Well, what happens is that when they put it in these barrels, they have a tendency of absorbing these flavors depending on how long it's in the barrel, and then even goes further on to go, if it's moved from one barrel to another, it'll take on additional flavors. So back to a whiskey. Whiskey is anything that's going to be in a barrel, aged in a barrel. Bourbon is anything that's aged in a new oak barrel. PBR circumvented it and went, hey, we're going to call our moonshine a whiskey. How? We're going to age it in a... Okay. There we go. Spam parallel. We're gonna raise the... or we're going to call it a whiskey officially by aging it in a barrel, aging it for 5 seconds. Like 5 to 10 seconds. So they literally poured it in.
It's now a whiskey.
It's whiskey, and dumped it out, and then started. So they're basically selling moonshine.
Legal moonshine.
So it's one way to go about it. It's just a case of how you add that whole nonsense. So anyway, we're getting a little distracted. You're looking at chat. I'm looking at chat. It catches our eyes. So that's basically what a whiskey is for the most part. Now, then obviously you go into Irish whiskeys, which are more known to have peat to it because that's part of it. They're peated, but they have peat in there because that's when they roast the grains and the malts and stuff. They use peat to get that smoke in there. Scotches are its own beast unto itself. They're all made in Scotland. But depending on where in Scotland, you're going to get a variety of flavors. If you go seaside, you're going to get saltiness. You're going to get more a briny. You're going to get more nautical. I guess you could want. It's a weird term. And again,
it's all like based on experience. And
some people say you'll get like saltwater taffy kind of vibes when they're drinking it. They'll get that in their head. Then you can get some of the
Isla favorite flavor.
The Isla, some of it you'll get some of the hills, the upper, the grassy, you'll get some of that. Well, that's more of your plains. You'll get more of the grassy stuff. Some of your hills get super smoky, and you'll get like that campfire that a lot of like Scotch drinkers will do. Monkey Shoulder is a blended malt Scotch. It has almost no smoke to it. It's a little bit cleaner, a little bit of peat, but not much. It's like a safe step from whiskeys. Anyway. So that's where you're going to kind of get into what a whiskey is American whiskeys. Canadian whiskeys are a little known to be sweeter. Bourbon, which is basically whiskey with a top hat. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to have a new oak finish. So
well, you have to have also the bourbons, even with something like Four Roses or Long Branch, you're going to get stuff that is finished in other things.
So it'll be a bourbon that's been in a new charred oak, and then they will put it into a sherry cask.
Or a wine cask.
Or some sort of sherry's a wine, but in some sort of wine cask. And it'll absorb some of those flavors. So it'll age for 3, 5, 8 years, who knows.
But that's how you get the difference of something with a bourbon, Four Roses, versus something like a Jim Beam, because Four Roses might finish their stuff a little different. Like the process is still the same.
For the most part.
They're depending on wood secrets.
You'll still have the mash bill be a little bit different between this is 51% corn, this is 58% corn. Right. So you'll get different sweetnesses based on that. But correct.
But the final step is how they redefine what that flavor profile is.
And obviously there's a lot more to this. We're breaking it down to quick version because more importantly we want to talk about our new friends, so to speak.
So again, Whiskey Tribe has, and I urge anybody to go and check them out. They are very knowledgeable. They are very entertaining. Entertaining people that are out there trying to inform people about whiskeys, bourbons, scotches, just this multitude of things that people can get lost in. Like how I know I've personally gone into, when I was new to drinking, gone into some place and been
when you're saying lost in, you got me thinking of like, lost in this world of whiskey. No, lost in an aisle going. I don't know what to drink. I would say I'm probably like a lot of people that my first jaunt into whiskeys was Jack Daniels and Coke or whiskey and Coke at your local, the plastic bottle with the blue label and silver letters that just say whiskey with or without the E.
Or XXX, who knows? Jug whiskey.
You are from the South, aren't you? Jeez.
So again, there's I prefer to get knowledgeable about things and then try as I go. Whiskey Tribe does a really good job of kind of going, we're going to give you our input or our knowledge about these things. I think both of our biggest things that we liked about the Whiskey Tribe, before we kind of rabbit hole down, was they're big proponents of, they get asked all the time, what's the best whiskey? And the response is...
your favorite whiskey, or the best whiskey is the kind you like and the way you like to drink it.
And that's...
So that won my heart right away. I'm like, okay, so at least if they're snobs and they're knowledgeable, but...
they're still not trying to kind of crap all over the world of whiskey as it is.
So it's nice to be able to watch somebody that are proclaimed experts, because
Right.
that's the thing about YouTube. You have a lot of, I mean, even we're doing it to a degree. You have a lot of people that proclaim they're experts in this or proclaim they're knowledgeable in that, but then back it with an air of snobbery and, oh no, you need to
How
listen
dare
to us.
you?
How dare you question us? Whereas these guys seem very much along the lines of we have this experience and this is what we know. We will share it with you. This is what we like, and if you like it, cool. If you don't, then at least you knew what to kind of look for.
Right.
You have an idea of what you're smelling or tasting or whatnot, and some people don't like to be told what to do. You know, there's moments when you and I are sipping something and like I'm like, oh, do you smell this? And you're like, I don't. What the hell are you talking about? That's also because everybody's memories are going to be individualized. The one that we had with was it Buffalo Trace that we had, and I got a bit of oh no, it was the monkey shoulder where I got, was it the elephant ears? Was it monkey shoulder?
Yes.
Okay.
Monkey shoulder.
Where I got the carnival smell of like the elephant ears or the funnel cakes and all that stuff. That smell, like from the monkey shoulder, triggered that memory. So I couldn't put a button or put my nose on what exactly I was tasting, but it did remind me of walking through and getting a funnel cake, and I'm like, okay, there's that bitter bready something in there.
And Quack Quack Honk in the chat room says Silence likes to say that Dorsey taught him that he didn't dislike whiskey, he disliked cheap whiskey.
For sure.
And that's a very good point. I'd like to kind of bring that back to a couple of episodes ago where we talked about the Swedish band talking about they didn't, like when they were younger, they wanted just cheap booze to get drunk on. They didn't know what taste or flavor profile they liked until they got older and got more distinguished as connoisseurs. I feel like whiskey kind of gets that same thing. Whiskey isn't supposed to be, line up, like, obviously we do Jameson, but at the same time, like, whiskey's not necessarily something on this level to, let me do shots of it all night.
There's more complexities compared to vodka.
Right.
Like, to a degree, you can even say gin is up there, where there's complexities in gin, which is, depending on who you argue, it is vodka. Gin is basically a flavored vodka. Wink, wink. But ultimately, you're dealing with something like gin you could actually kind of enjoy in a different way because it's got flavor. There's other notes to it. Sure, you could go ahead and slam Four Roses. You could do a shot of Jameson, no big deal. But you could also sip Jameson and pick out things a little bit more. It's like watching a movie or listening to music. I like going out. Personally, I like listening to music. I'll listen to a song. I'll listen through it. Maybe not catch all the lyrics. Maybe not catch all the instrumental part. Go, that was cool. But I listen a couple more times. Maybe you go back and listen to it differently.
Even pull up the lyrics so that you make sure you understand the words.
I listen to it if I'm happy or I listen to it if I'm sad. You're going to get a different reaction. It's a lot of the same way with a lot of alcohol or really any flavor. You know, with a good steak. I've had a good steak while depressed and went, this tastes so differently than when I'm in a good mood and having a victory steak. Like a condolence steak and a victory steak. Taste different. I don't care what anybody says. It tastes different. So you'll be able to pick those out. That's our new episode. All right, there you go. And so you have those things. Like you're able to pick out these flavors. There are good sipping vodkas. I will agree with Quack Quack Honk again. There are things that will have different flavors and different distillation processes and different ways to
ironically
make things
they
good.
Do suggest, and I wouldn't have thought of it before, obviously, again going down this rabbit hole with the Whiskey Tribe videos, of having a side neutral spirit like vodka to sip and get used to or acclimated to the alcohol ethanol flavor before you go to sniff, taste, and then finish a whiskey.
Especially if you're dealing with something with a higher proofage, where you're dealing with 100 proof,
you're
105
smelling
proof.
it, and then you're going, all I smell is the alcohol. It's to take that sip of the vodka to get used, and like I said, acclimated to the alcohol.
Sure.
So that when you sniff it, you get more of it. And obviously, sniffing and tasting goes more into kind of where we're going with this topic of very wine-centric type of talents. Or
okay, wait a second. You're looking for a magic word here, and I see what I want to do. So you're looking for the term sommelier.
Yep.
So what did I find interesting about your rabbit hole?
Pause real quick, because I want to put this out there.
Go ahead.
Ha, furry. Daniel Whittington for the Whiskey Tribe ports himself as a level 3 whiskey sommelier. We, upon, again, starting to watch these videos and enjoying it, and again, I urge people to go check these guys.
You're backpedaling. Let's go.
I'm not backpedaling.
You're pedaling. Let's go.
I urge people to go watch these guys because, again, at the end of the day, minus everything else that they're doing, they're still entertaining.
Yes.
But
there we go.
They are porting themselves, as Daniel specifically, as a level 3 whiskey sommelier. So, continue.
What do you mean to continue with? The term sommelier is more associated with wines, and there's a whole schooling and process that goes with it.
Very long, extinguished.
In fact, to become what they're also known as wine.
Distinguished, not extinguished. Sorry.
But they're for a court master or the court of master sommeliers to become a wine steward. They're called as well. Usually, at least requires a 2-year associate as well. Culinary arts, all this other things, because there's a lot to digest when you're dealing with wines. In fairness, there's also hundreds, if not thousands, of types of wines that are going to go left and right, up and down to the specific grape, the year that the grape was harvested, the soil. There's far more nuance to being a sommelier than there is to just, this tastes like a Cabernet Sauvignon. No, like, you have to pick all these things out with a variety to pick from. What makes it interesting with a whiskey sommelier is that there's a smaller pool to pick from. Yeah, there's hundreds, if not thousands of types or dozens of brands of whiskey, but you're going to pick up of pretty much the same things between your Canadian whiskeys, your Scotches, your Irish whiskeys, and your American whiskeys, and then whatever bathtub stuff you make in, I don't know, Croatia or anything else anything else that would fall into a whiskey category.
Got it.
You're going to have these very similar profiles because the corn is going to be similar. Now, obviously, mini side tangent, here in Illinois, we have Whiskey Acres, which actually grows their corn on site. And so they will also mess with the corn with a small plot of land, and they'll grow sweet corn. And then they'll use that for a small batch or a special custom thing. And it's got a higher sugar content, so it's a little bit sweeter. But it's got a higher alcohol content because yeast loves sugar.
Right.
And more sugar means more yeast fart, which is more alcohol. So you're going to deal with those kind of things. So that being said, we're now looking at what our friend is calling himself a whiskey sommelier.
And so we're going to kind of tangent.
You're trying not to call it a cult, basically. Let's go. Let's call it what it is.
So we're going to kind of tangent because, again, with going to and being like, oh, I really like watching these individuals talk about whiskey.
They have 2 YouTube channels specifically that they
do Whiskey Vault and Whiskey Tribe. And then they have the Whiskey Marketing School. And they also have a conglomeration or a corporation called the Wizard.
There we go.
The Wizard Academy.
The Wizard Academy, and we're not talking Harry Potter here.
So again, you're jumping ahead of me, and I'm getting frustrated.
Play out your court.
So going in and calling it a rabbit hole, which is what we did, we were like, we really like this. They've gotten us into trying different bourbons. Like, we obviously are a big fan of Four Roses. I picked up this Contradiction bourbon for First Squared that we really liked. I've gotten Long Branch. We've been doing Jameson for years. We've tried. We have expanded our knowledge because of these individuals. But however, in true rabbit hole form, upon going into it, I have discovered they might be a cult. Now you can continue.
No, I've been get to your point. That's what I'm getting at.
I was getting into the rabbit hole of.
So wait, are you going pro cult or anti cult?
I'm a little frightened that I like these two individuals as well as I have, because they have clearly gotten themselves. They're clearly part of a
pro cult or anti cult.
I am anti cult.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go that. So wait, you don't think they're a cult?
I don't want to.
I want to go black and white, because then we could bounce ideas off each other.
Okay.
So you're gonna fight that they are a cult?
I am pro. They are good at their job.
So you don't think they're a cult? They're a cult. You're going with they're a cult.
I don't think they're a cult.
Okay, I will argue that they are a cult then.
Okay.
And then I will assist you in arguments if we need either way, but let's go that way. So are they a cult? Well, so so you have Rex, who calls himself the Mooch.
Yes.
Because he knows Daniel, who is proclaimed.
Self-proclaimed.
Well, it proclaims because he's got a school that backs him that he happens to own. So he's got
you can go and become a summit.
So the whiskey school that they have is located in Austin, Texas. And it's the Wizard Academy. And it's a 2-day training course that, again, I'm going pro cult. They're a cult. It's a 2-day training.
Try that cult.
Yeah, there we go. It's a 2-day training course where you drop $4,000 to become a level 1 sommelier. A whiskey sommelier. And for $2,000 more, you could go to level 2. And then additional $2,000 more, you could go level 3. Now, supposedly the level 4 and 5 isn't quite finished yet in their process. But they go into here's your whiskeys. Then level 2 and 3 are American whiskeys and Scotch whiskeys with Irish whiskeys. And then 4 and 5 are supposed to be like more of the nuances of unique whiskeys and high proofage and flavor, stuff like that. So, again, I'm fighting that they are a cult. So you have a group that comes together that will go to this school, and they even do this retreat kind of a thing that they got, where they'll workshop ideas and whatnot. Rex, their second in command, I guess, of the whole thing, is a marketer. Specifically does marketing and comes from a school of marketing and is now marketing this school. So a school of marketing to turn around and market a school to teach people over the weekend how to become sommeliers, which is a dangerous word to use because of the connotation that comes from wine drinkers and the level of expertise that's required to become a wine sommelier. What is your argument here?
So, it's very hard for me to argue this because I'm going down the fact that I went and researched them and got to the point where I was just like, okay, this is a little strange that they have become such YouTube experts for something that, again, is all based on.
So why are they not a cult?
I don't know why they're not a cult.
Do you need me to help you here? So what makes them any different from LARPers?
What do you mean?
What makes them any different from LARPers? They workshop ideas together. They come together with a intention to better each other and better understand something. Cults usually have some sort of supernatural or some sort of end goal where it seems like their end goal is making money, which is fine. Everybody's end goal in America in some way is to make money. But if it's something that's kind of going off of a shared experience of, hey, I have some knowledge of whiskeys and stuff, and I'm passionate about whiskeys. Why not share in this
It's got
passion?
a little level of, to me, and maybe I'm kind of helping your argument point.
Sure, we can switch roles. I'll be you. Anyway, sorry.
They have a little level of, here's our base idea to get people in the door.
Sure.
Of, oh, you would like to be part of this whiskey tribe, which obviously I did.
We're part of the newsletter.
Yeah.
We are both part of the newsletter.
We'll get you in the door. We'll get you enjoying this thought, this idea, this product.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, it's the product of whiskey. But then you go into, they've now created a source of the crowded barrel.
So that's the thing you're missing. That's
okay.
Big to your argument. They have gone and went through crowdsourcing. I think GoFundMe, or
many levels,
or Kickstarter, or these other basically Kickstarter. I think was their main one. They got some other things. They crowdsourced a whiskey.
A distillery.
Or a distillery.
A full whiskey distillery. They're the first crowdsourced whiskey distillery.
They're a fully crowdsourced functional whiskey distillery. That is good. That is a very good thing because everybody has some sort of a say-so or has some sort of an input, and they're doing it for the crowd. They're doing it for the people that are putting money toward this. Not saying there's stocks and stuff involved and are not like these. The people that put the money to get this distillery built aren't getting shares of the profit or anything.
Right.
But it's something they want to see get built and made. And again, going back to these two gentlemen's ability to be resource managers and salesmen, to be able to, hey, we have an idea to build a distillery, we'll have other people pay for it. Well done. Fantastic. I love it. I am so pro that.
So to kind of get down to the smaller grain of it is, upon researching this, they are basically board of directors. They have positions on a board of directors of the Wizard Academy, which is where they built the Fang and Feather, or the crowdsourced distillery.
Right.
Crowded Barrel Distillery.
Crowded Barrel is their alcohol.
Correct.
And their distillery is at the Fang and Feather.
Correct. And they built it on the edge of the Wizard Academy campus,
which
basically.
Is their school for whiskey sommeliers.
Well, okay. Hold on. Wizard Academy is the over umbrella of come join us, enjoy a retreat, not a resort, which is specifically on their website, of people coming together and you bringing your ideas, and they will help you become better marketers of that idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where there's a little bit of string pulling and kind of cultish
so you could sell Cutco knives if you really wanted to.
I was proud owners of Cutco knives because they got me at Disney.
Got ya.
But they want people to come to their place, the Wizard Academy, to bring their ideas, and it's where people can go and be like, I want to do this one thing. How do I do it? How do I crowdsource it? How do I market myself? Basically, sure. I mean, hello, Gray Muzzle Geekery. We're always trying to market ourselves. Let me go pay these people to help me do it. So it's almost like Tim Robbins, like self-improvement kind of things. But it's the Wizard Academy. They have this place in Austin, Texas. They have the distillery that was now crowdsourced by two individuals that are really passionate or geeks about whiskey.
Absolutely, 100%.
And they've been able to successfully market it and become sommeliers or experts about something like whiskey. So they've done a great job.
So I think the big thing too, and you're in favor of your argument of non-cult, would be also the sommelier thing. Because I was thinking about it, and sommelier is such a dangerous word to use because there's a level of trust and expertise that gets put in with that term. When you come up and say, yes, I'm a sommelier, you're like, oh crap. Their word, it's no joke, similar to somebody coming up and saying they're a mechanic, they're an electrician, they're a plumber. There's a level of, they
a
little
have been
bit more.
certified by something.
And to do whiskey sommelier, there is a certification process that goes involved. That said, why not a whiskey sommelier? Why not somebody who is knowledgeable in whiskeys and the processes and everything about them? Because he's got a hell of a collection too, and he's pretty knowledgeable on these things. Why not turn around? It was like, well, whiskey sommelier is not a thing. Because that's the big argument. Even online, reading Reddits and forums and everything else, and people who bash on these guys go, whiskey sommelier is not a thing. And I look and go, why not? Well, because the term sommelier goes to wine. Okay, fine, it goes with wines. Why can't you have a whiskey sommelier? Well, it needs to be, okay, well, why can't these guys be the pioneers of whiskey sommelier? Why can't they go, you know what, whiskey sommelier isn't a term. It's not a thing that exists. I mean, hell, you and I tomorrow could start and become gin sommeliers. But why not? Why can't we?
Right.
If we have a working knowledge and a body of expectations and a body of facts that could be backed up through experiments, scientific method. This is what we taste, this is what's going on, this is what they use, and this is what you're looking for. And this pairs well with this is pleasant. You could go ahead and have monkey shoulder with beef jerky. Or what do they say? Monkey shoulder and honey bun.
Yeah.
There's the dude like
was
the
your
sticky
elephant.
The sticky honey bun that you get stick in the microwave for like 5 seconds or so. Don't be like my sister and hit the 9 button a bunch of times and hope for the best. You do monkey shoulder like a honey bun, and there will be a level of sweet and that
fair
that reminded them of the Texas. Well, because they added it with pork rinds as well.
Oh, that's right.
Because they had the pork rinds, the honey bun, and the monkey shoulder, and he's like, it reminded him of Texas State Fair. But what's wrong with having a guide that will shepherd those ideas?
Or even Buffalo Trace with my personal favorite, Cheez-Its.
You had Buffalo Trace and Cheez-Its. But what's wrong with having somebody that could offer these pairs, that could offer these concepts, and go, it kind of reminds me of a police officer only has as much power as the people around him give it.
Fair.
A cop walks into a riot, that cop could be in trouble because nobody believes he has power. Guess what? The cop doesn't have power anymore. So if you have somebody that comes in and goes, hey, I have a working body of knowledge on this particular thing. Look at us with LARPers. Mm-hmm. Look at us with gaming. Look at us with what we're talking about now. We have a working body of knowledge because we researched it, we studied this, we did this, we found this out, and these have been our experiences. And these are experiences that matches a number of people. What's wrong with them coming out and saying, no, we've got this working body of knowledge, we'll teach you how to do this, and you two could have a similar body of knowledge to go from. So it's dangerous footing. Is 2 days enough to gain a vast knowledge of whiskeys?
And I almost want to say that I feel like the course, and obviously all of us have kind of done that. You go to a training course for something for work or something like on those lines, and then they go, here's your homework, here's how you can increase your knowledge, or here's how you can get better at it. And they even go into some of their videos and going, no, if you go to this site, you can get a list that tells you this is what you should be smelling.
Yeah, there's like whiskey, like a little notebook that gives you an idea of...
Right, or even further than that, you can go to certain places and buy a box that has smelling kit that says, this is what woody smells like, this is what... All these things that I know I've experienced when we go to places and they go, oh, well, this is Maker Mark, or a wine tasting
like jelly beans
versus a whiskey tasting,
sure.
And go, these are the notes you should be smelling.
100%.
It's all based on perception. I can smell something woody and have it be something for you. It smells charcoaly or corn, or even the Buffalo Trace last night. I was just like, it smells grassy.
Well, what I said was when I had the Buffalo Trace, it reminded me of one of the LARP campsites that we played at. Like when you pull up to the parking lot and you start walking towards the cabins, there's a smell of that the dust from the road with the fresh cut grass or the hay in the air, and that hit me, and I was like, I'm at a campsite right now. Like, I am ready to go LARP or something. I couldn't describe the flavors because, again, you're trying to describe an abstract
memory
concept.
Yeah.
Flavor and smells are abstract concepts. They're going to mean differently compared. Like, you and I could both look and go, that's a lamp, that's yellow, well, I'm colorblind, so that's mostly yellow. I hope that's yellow. Tell me that's yellow. But when you're coming with more abstract things like flavors and scents, and to a degree even hearing, sounds, it's hard to describe. Like, what does that sound? A phone ringing? We just kind of agree. Oh, that's what a phone ring sounds like. Cool, we agree on that shared hallucination. But it's a case of when I don't have words for, I don't know what this smell is and I don't know what this taste is. But here's a memory that's closely associated with something that maybe you will figure out. Boom. It's a campsite and whatnot. So ultimately you're dealing with the concepts of, do you think that this is a cult?
I don't think it's a cult. I think it's a group of, obviously, again, we've bought in a little bit, like not financially.
I 100%, yeah, I did not financially buy in.
But we've spent time.
I will spend some time to see what they have to say. I am interested in what they have to say when it comes to whiskeys. I don't care too much about their schooling. I don't care too much about being a sommelier. I don't care too much about doing all of that. I would love to go to the facility and tour the distillery because
it is officially on my bucket list of things I would love to do is visit Austin, Texas for obvious numerous other reasons than just this one location. It's a cultural landmark for pop culture and South by Southwest and all these other things. I would love to go visit. Lights. I would love to go visit it for multiple reasons. But it's definitely now going to Fang and Feather and possibly like meeting these two people and just getting a chance to hang out with other whiskey fans is on my bucket list. So
I do want to say this though, because we do have in our chat, we have TV's Travis, who was a contestant with us on the America's Next Top Podcaster. You know some 6 degrees of...
So, ironically, we actually have 6 degrees of separation to these individuals. And the reason why I know this is because upon watching these videos, they mention Modern Rogue, which is ran by Brian Brushwood.
So let's paint the tree here. So you have...
Whiskey Tribe.
So you have Daniel and Rex.
Right.
Connected to
Austin, Texas, which is where Modern Rogue is also another YouTube podcast, conglomerate, of things, which is ran by Brian Brushwood.
So they know Brian Brushwood, though.
Yes, they know Brian Brushwood.
So you have Rex and Daniel that are connected to Brian Brushwood,
who does Night Attack with Justin Robert Young.
So you have Brian Brushwood that is connected to Justin Robert Young.
And the Diamond Club, as TV Travis pointed out in our chat room, that is...
What's the Diamond Club?
Diamond Club is ran by Night Attack, or done by Night Attack, which is done by Brian Brushwood and Justin Robert Young, who was one of our judges on America's Next Top Podcaster. So, which is, again, TV Travis, which is totally not a cult.
No, it's totally not a cult. So before we're going to wind down our show here and call it kind of a shorter week, because, it's
Mother's Day weekend.
Mother's Day weekend.
Out trying
it's hard to find
time.
News and whatnot. We do apologize if things are totally our norm. I mean, we're both missing LARP Something Fierce right now. We're both missing some of our adventures. We have some adventures getting ready to go downtown Chicago. We got some magicians to see. We've got a speakeasy to go to.
Yeah.
We've got more speakeasies near Naperville. We've got new studio equipment showing up soon that'll allow us to do some on-site interviews with, and one of the goals is to do some on-site interviews with some of these distilleries and breweries, because there's a lot of stuff closing down. I had the fortune of going to see my sister and her boyfriend, which who knows when they're gonna tie the knot. I see that in the near future. He's all right. He's a firefighter, sort of, but yeah. But it was his birthday a little bit ago, and I thought, I know he likes porters. I know he likes dark porter beers. There's a local brewery that does a really good, like, vanilla and marshmallow porter. So I stopped over there, had my mask on, was like, hey, let me get a howler, which is a 32-ounce pour in a nice little bottle that's got the name on there, Black Horizon Brewing. Talked about them in the past. And bought a nice bottle and gave it to, I guess, my sister's boyfriend as a belated birthday gift. But it's something that I saw of, hey, here's supporting
local brewery.
The local brewery and such. So we'll kind of wrap things up here before we get into a little bit of our after show. But so again, how do we feel about Whiskey Tribe? I like the knowledge that they bring. I like the community that's there because they're nuts about whiskey. I'm okay with that. They're not coming up into religious experience. They're not going into violation of, I guess, comfortable topics. Like, we're not getting into politics, we're not getting into religion, we're not getting into the...
Yeah, and even today, they posted, like, one of their Whiskey Tribe members posted a thing about she's doing special effects makeup, and I threw on there, and she's just like, hey, who do you watch? Like, what do you do? Cosplaying, makeup, blah, blah, blah. And I threw up several of my photos, and she ends up being a fellow LARPer.
Yep.
Out in North Carolina, she's done Vampire the Masquerade. She's done a couple of other things, and she runs her own...
I thought that was cute. Vampire is a LARP.
She runs her own D&D group. So there was that other thing of, like, whiskey might have brought us together, being part of the Whiskey Tribe, but there's others parts that we can have a community built, and we're geeks about.
And that's the biggest thing about them that's nice, is that they are geeks about whiskey. And they enjoy shared experiences with that. Again, like with LARPers, with gamers, there's an idea that you have, and you want to share that. You want to share the concepts. You want to, hey, I'm tasting something in this bottle. What are you tasting? Well, I'm tasting this. Holy crap, I didn't see that. Now I'm on second taste. Like, maybe it's the power of suggestion. That's the nice thing when you're dealing with flavors and scents and sounds. You could... Hey, if I go, more, 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 you're like, what did you say? But if I go to the mall, you might hear something else if I do it again.
Well, and then there's also the other thing, and again, obviously we're trying to wrap up here, but there's also the thing of the fact that you might have eaten spicy food the first time you tried something versus the second time you tried it, you haven't eaten in a couple of hours. There's the thing of, hey, I want to try this thing, and then you may not like it the first time, but don't let that stop you the second time based on what you've been experiencing.
They're even saying that your taste buds are more receptive in their earlier hours. So having a 9 a.m. glass of whiskey...
I do like my Irish coffees.
Yeah, you do like Irish coffees. And so again, we have our little list of bourbons and whiskeys and such here in front of our little list of whiskeys, basically. So obviously we have Jameson, which is the well-known Irish whiskey. We have Long Branch by Wild Turkey, which is actually Matthew McConaughey. All right. Four Roses is our staple. So we'll skip this for now because this is a special bottle. The original bottle was the Smooth Ambler Contradiction Bourbon, but it is currently right now serving as an infinity bottle. For those that don't know what an infinity bottle is, basically, as long as it's not too smoky, so you're not dealing with like Ardbeg or Lafroig, and nothing too peaty. Even Jameson would be okay, but nothing that's too crazy peat. We're taking whatever whiskeys and bourbons and whatnot that we have, and we're sacrificing the first ounce right into this infinity bottle. So it's going to be a crazy blend of whatever the crap we had. It could be good, it could be bad, who knows, but once we get to basically near the top, we'll crack it open and it'll be our blend of whiskeys. Obviously we have Buffalo Trace, which is kind of the baseline of like down home plate, solid whiskey, really good. Like, you want a good bourbon, you want something that's
smooth and doesn't have too much burn.
If you're a whiskey snob, a whiskey snob, Buffalo Trace is still really good stuff. If you're new to whiskeys, Buffalo Trace is really good stuff. And then Monkey Shoulder, our Scotch on hand for now. I'm hoping to upgrade us to something more smoky and really kind of tackle
Get that
and
feeling.
just get the experiences. It's fun. It's something that we're doing. We're trying to be good about it. And the thing about being good that I do like about the Whiskey Tribe is the fact that they're also currently doing their dry week every quarter. So 4 times a year, they do a week where they don't drink just to check on each other, just to make sure that, hey, there's no dependency going on. There's no,
checking how much, because whiskey is not cheap. It's not your PBR. It's not your, I'm going to go buy a 24 pack of 312. It's whiskey can be a more expensive
hobby, so to speak.
Luxury. I personally, being that we were in the pandemic, I found myself drinking every night. And just this last week, I went and got, you know what?
You did your mini dry spell.
I'm gonna pull back. I'm going to make sure that I'm not just drinking because it's something to do. It still ends up being an experience and something I enjoy doing. And God's forsake, please give your liver a freaking break and drink some water.
Lots of water.
But I really do like my whiskeys and I like my ryes. I gotta give a shout out to Angel Envy.
We like Angel Rye.
I like Angel Envy in general. I do like my ryes. But again, I do enjoy the fact that even though this is their money, this is their staple of how we do things, which the Whiskey Tribe does and do the reviews and everything, they do choose to go, wait, we're going to be responsible. We're going to pull back. We're going to do a dry week every 3 months and make sure that they're going, okay, we're stepping back. We're taking a break.
So ultimately that'd be your line between a geek and a cult. Is just knowing when to step away. Knowing when you could take a step back and go, no, I'm good. This is good for me, but I need to slow down, or I need to kind of monitor myself for my own health. Reevaluate. And the capability of thinking and reevaluating. I know I miss LARP because of the benefits that come with it, and I realized when I also burnt myself out of LARP. Same thing with whiskeys. I know when I'm enjoying it, and I know that I'm having a little too much. I need to slow down and do such. And that's the joys of being a geek. So again, shout out to the Whiskey Tribe and those of the Rex and Daniel of their YouTube channel. Look for them. They're just Whiskey Tribe on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Check them out. I think they're pretty entertaining. It's something we've again been kind of keeping tabs on.
Infectious laughs and all.
They're two of the guys remind us of people in our life. We're not going to say anything because if you know them, you know them. If you don't, hey, nothing. You're not missing out on anything. But oh boy, do we know both of those people in other forms. But again, fellow geeks, be it gaming, be it LARPing, be it
whiskey, be it
food, or be it whiskey, remember that we are all geeks. To be otherwise may very well mean to live without passion. Have a good night. Thank you for listening to another episode of Grey Muzzle Geekery with Dusty Red and Dusty White.
You can support our continued geekery at our Patreon website, patreon.com/greymuzzlegeekery. Be sure to check back often as we start to add geek cred levels.
You can send your questions and comments to us at greymuzzlegeekery@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at greymuzzlegeek.
We can be found on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and Buzzsprout.
And a special thank you to Pepper Coyote for our intro theme. And if you like what you heard, you can find more of his stuff on Spotify, Patreon, or directly from his Bandcamp page.